Okay, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Erik Lidman. I'm one of the founders and CEO of Aimplan. We are a Swedish software and SaaS company located in the northern part of Sweden. And we are on a journey to supercharge the power of Power BI by adding totally new capabilities. So what I would like to do then is to jump into what is Aimplan all about, but actually to start with, I would like to talk about Power BI. So Power BI is kind of the leading BI and data analytics tool in the world. It's a great tool for getting data out from different data sources from your ERP systems, your CRM systems, your warehouses, and present this information out to end users. It's the leading tool. If you look at the Gartner report here from June this year, you see that they are rated kind of far top right before Tableau and Qlik and so on. So it's really a great tool. But what you can see with these kind of the arrows is that it's all about bringing data from source systems up into Power BI and out to end users. And it's very much also about looking at the history, what happened yesterday, last week, last month, last year. It's not so much forward looking, what will happen next month and next year. And it's not about capturing data from the audience, from the users of Power BI. And this is something, we are in a journey of changing this. We want to be able to supercharge or extend Power BI with new capabilities when it comes to budgeting, planning, forecasting, and data management, and also doing some of the reporting better than what you can do in Power BI today. So we started this journey early 2022 to build Aimplan. So it's built on the latest Azure technologies, the latest Power BI technologies. And we have had a great success in the market. So we're a Swedish company, but we have customers across Scandinavia, also Central Europe with Germany and the Netherlands and Italy and UK and so on. And we also have customers in US. And what's kind of, if you look on these kind of companies, they have one thing in common, and that is that they are running Power BI. So they have invested in Power BI. They have started their journey to implement Power BI, providing operational reporting, strategic reporting in Power BI. But what they figure out very soon is that they are lacking capabilities in Power BI, especially in the office of the CFO when it comes to, for example, setting targets or doing forecasts and so on. So what we add with Aimplan are a few kind of components. First of all, we speed up the planning and budgeting and forecasting processes by enabling this inside of Power BI. So say that you have a sales analytics dashboard in Power BI today. I mean, that's great, but you cannot really forecast the future. So by adding Aimplan, you can enhance your sales and demand forecasting. You can really fast collect information from your cost center managers about headcount or costs or revenues. If you have a lot of project managers, for example, you maybe need to combine your actual project costs or revenue with your projected cost in different projects. And with Aimplan, you can do that right inside of Power BI, your data analytics platform. So some customers, they just build this kind of point application, maybe for sales and demand forecasting. Some of our customers go one step further and bring this into an integrated financial planning model, kind of bringing everything together and also increase their reporting capabilities when it comes to financial reporting. I will show you that. And then on the other hand, we have total other customers that are just using Aimplan inside of Power BI for data management. They need to maybe map some data in their data warehouse, or they need to get some KPI data manually captured across the organization into the data warehouse. Instead of using SharePoint lists or spreadsheets, they use Aimplan just embedded in Power BI. So what I will do now is to jump into a demonstration of Power BI and for sure Aimplan inside of Power BI. And this will be in three major steps. First, I will talk about planning, budgeting, and forecasting, how you can extend your existing Power BI models, which is kind of a unique concept that we have, that you can take if you're running Power BI today, you have a data model with your tables and so on, Power BI, and that is the starting point for extending that into planning and forecasting. And how you can publish these reports to really fast collect data and information from your end users. Second part of the demo, I will talk about reporting, how you can really build granular designed reports the way you want to build the reports, and how we can matrix reports in Power BI. They are great, but we can do much more sophisticated reporting using the Aimplan visuals inside of Power BI. And then finally, we talk about data management and how you can, for example, extend your existing Power BI tables. So say that you have a table with all your products and you want a new column with color, and you want some end user to be able to map the color to the different products. You can do that using our other visuals inside of Power BI. So let's jump into Power BI. Nikolai, any questions so far? No, I don't think so. Again, if you have any question, just shout out in the chat, and Nick, maybe you can look into the chat and see if there are any questions. Maybe
I am looking. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. So let's jump over to Power BI, and this is our Aimplan demo running inside the web browser, inside Power BI service. So what I will do now is to showcase and start to talk about planning and forecasting. So I will jump into one of our reports, which is about sales forecasting and sales volume forecasting. And again, this is a normal Power BI report, nothing strange. There is kind of the actual sales, and you have your products and customers, and you have different slicers at the top and so on. In the middle here, you have the Aimplan planning and reporting visual, which all of a sudden you can see you can navigate like in Excel, and you can start to enter data. How many units will we sell of these different products during different months, for example? And then when I'm editing these numbers, I can then press the save button to actually save this data into kind of the backend storage and update the Power BI model. So if you look at, for example, the planned sales quantity in this card on the right side, or the total revenues, let's say that we're going to run a big campaign for this target customer in August. We believe that we're going to sell like 3,000 units in August. If I update that number, that will be spread across all the different products here if you want to do that. And if I press save now, you will see that these numbers here are recalculated by Power BI. And I mean, normally you can't do this in Power BI. You can just look at numbers in Power BI. You can publish reports about what happened yesterday, but you cannot really capture data in this example, numbers. You can't capture that from end users. So with Power BI, you just design this report page once. And then if you want to share this to capture data, you just go to share, copy link, take this URL, and mail that out to the audience, to the people from where you want to capture the data. And you use normal Power BI, so-called row-level security, to control which user can, for example, update which product segment or sales channel data and so on. But that is already built into Power BI. So that's kind of the basic functionality of Aimplan running here. And then we have a lot of different kind of functions. I showed you a little bit that you can do what's called splashing. So instead of putting in numbers on the lowest level here, I can actually say that this product for this customer last year we sold this amount of units. If I now say we're going to sell like 2,000 units, you will see it will be spread across all the months based on the numbers here. And you can have different allocation keys for how you allocate these numbers. You can do the same thing on columns. So maybe 10,000 units across this month, and it will actually be spread across all the customers and all the products here that I'm now working with. Another alternative is to actually ask the system for a suggestion. So say that we have an AI model running behind the scenes here. We can actually ask the system to provide a suggestion. For sure, it can be something similar, kind of or easy, like last year's sales. But in this case, we're actually injecting numbers from an AI model to kind of get a proposal here from the end user. What's important is that this data is still not saved. It's up to me as a manager. Maybe I need to adjust this number. I don't believe in this. It should be much more. And then when I press save, it's me as a user who are committing this number. It's not just an AI model providing this suggestion. So that's an example of an input form. And then you can use this to whatever you want. And I want to show you some of the function and features that we have in this visual from the context of a traditional cost budget or a cost forecasting scenario. So again, we have our visual in the middle of this page, a normal Power BI model. We have selected to work. I'm the manager of the Stockholm cost center. I'm working with a specific forecast scenario. So in Aimplan, we have a scenario management, and it shows up as a normal dimension in your Power BI model. And now I can start to do budgeting bottom up. So I can say, okay, I want to maybe have 400 and 600K. I can copy this across like in Excel. I can also provide context. I can, on a cell, I can add a comment to say, can be lower or higher or something. And then you get this kind of blue thing here with a cell comment like you have in Excel. You can also provide row comments like that. And when I save this data, both the numbers and the comments are stored down to this central data repository where you have all the cost centers data with the planning data. So we have comments on cells, on rows, and also you can use our other commenting visual to add comments to the page itself. And these comments are connected to the slicers, to the filters. So for example, right now we're looking at the Stockholm cost center, and then we will only see the comment connected to the Stockholm cost center. Other features we want to make it easy for end user to quickly do this kind of exercise. I showed you splashing before, so let's continue with that one. I can enter numbers for the full year, but I can also say that for maybe this group of accounts, I think we need 12 million, and then it will be spread across both rows and columns. I can also write things like, I want to increase this by plus 12%, and then I will increase it by 12%. So I can, instead of entering absolute numbers, me as end user, I can add some percentages here. And we can also go to, let's go down here. I can do something called locking cells. So say that I'm fine with the first 6 month numbers. The first half year here is I'm fine with the plan here. Then I can right click and say lock cells. And then you can see that all the numbers here for the first 6 months become locked. And I can say that for the full year, we need to be down on 130 million. And then I will just affect the numbers that are not locked in my screen right now. And then when I save these numbers, I get kind of the numbers I have committed, the 130 million are now stored, and the Power BI model is immediately updated. All the changes I'm doing, so we change that to 500K. And then we change it to 600K. All of the changes that we are doing here are audit trail. So we can actually see what has been going on here. So if I click on this bookmark, and we have here a normal Power BI table, we can actually see all the changes I made. And the last two changes was this 500K and 600K that I just did on a specific scenario, on a specific count, at a specific point in time. So we really have good traceability of who is doing what in the model. So we have real good control of the data. So that's some of the functions here. And then for sure you can configure this to do whatever you want. Let me show you a few examples that we have in the demo. Say that you have a lot of projects, and maybe you have projects to customers, or it can be hours, or in this case, it's actually internal projects that we are running, and we are talking about costs. So we're going to build a new office. We have some sub-activities. We're going to develop some products, and we have some activities, and so on. We have set a budget. The budget is locked, and that is something we have done in the project budget sheet here. So that has been done before. Right now, we have started the year, and the cost is coming in here from the accounting system. So we have booked these amounts on different activities in these different projects. And I can't change this data. This is locked. This is the actuals. But over here, you see that it's still open. So here I can go and update my forecast. So here I can actually say we need 60,000 more here and maybe some 50,000 more here. And when I press save, we are updating the latest forecast, the project forecast here. So when it's storing this data, it's immediately updating the forecast. In this, what we are showcasing here is that we are combining actuals up until a specific point in time, and then we are working with forecasting. So we can very much work with a rolling window, a rolling forecast, where actuals are automatically coming in, filling up month by month over time. Let's see here. Okay, I see we have some questions. I will take those in the end, some of them. So let us come back to those. Great. That's project planning. We can do headcount planning. So let's look at some example of, again, I'm a cost center manager for a specific cost center. We're working with a planning model. And we can put in data here. And we can press save. And we are updating the Power BI model. It's the same kind of thing. In this page, we actually have two visuals. We have both the FTE and the headcount. All of this data can then flow into Power BI reports. So if you think about an integrated planning model, you want your revenue lines coming from your sales forecasting. You want your personnel costs coming from your personnel plan. And in this report, you can see that the top line here is coming from, it's gray. We can't change it. This is coming from a sub-model from sales. And this line for the staff cost is coming from the headcount planning. So that's just a few examples of planning. Let's talk and switch then to talk about structured reporting, how we can improve the way you build reports in Power BI. And to be able to understand that, you first need to understand what's not possible in Power BI. And that is to build really what we call structured reports. A normal Power BI report looks something like this. You put things on rows and on columns, and it works like a pivot table in Excel. You cannot really control different levels and have a total somewhere in the middle and a percentage row somewhere in the middle. If you use the Aimplan planning and reporting visual, you can configure what we call sections. So in this case, let's say we want to run a report across 3 cost centers, aggregating numbers. Then we have created a section for revenues. And this section you can configure specifically. So in this case, we have a structure of accounts, and then we have cost centers. We have another section for personnel cost, where we have another design of how this row section should look like. We have a section for this profit line and also for this margin line. And you can see here we have a percentage in the middle of the report, which is very tricky to do in a normal Power BI report. Using our reporting visual, you can also do things like drill through. So if I click on maybe a specific month here on the operational cost, we can see that those 13 million is built up here by different cost elements, different transactions, and I can actually, using Power BI functionality to drill into invoices. If you have a scanning system with your invoices, you can go from your P&L statement down into the transactions, down into your invoices. So these sections are really important. I talked about row sections, but you can also configure column sections. So at the far right here, you can see we have time here. We have quarters and month. But at the far right in this report, we have defined a cost center section, which is totally other. It's not something different than time. And this is normally not possible in normal Power BI. You cannot kind of combine on the columns different kind of objects. And so that showcase a little bit about reporting and sections, but I would say that sections they are even more important when it comes to designing, planning, and budgeting forms. So if we jump over to an example of, again, a planning form. And this is a sales dashboard for sales reps. I have logged in here. Maybe it's running inside of PowerPoint or inside our Teams, because you maybe know that you can run Power BI in Teams. What we can see here is a normal Power BI dashboard with charts. Down here, we have the Aimplan visual, containing more than one section. So here we have the actuals in one section, we have the quota in one section, we have the remaining that we need to close this quarter as a section, and then we have the planning section where we're going to do the forecasting. If you just run a normal pivot table or a matrix report or some kind of visual for writeback, which is based on the matrix concept, this is not possible to define because they work like a pivot table. But here you can go in and say, okay, I'm going to update this number, and it's running live mode. So now we are updating this dashboard live, just changing the numbers to directly in the visual in the page. And this is kind of a unique functionality that we have. Okay, that was a little bit about reporting and sections, and now we're going to talk about data management, and that is another of our visuals for maintaining kind of more registers and dimensional data. So say that you have products where you want to add an attribute like color, or if you want to map your chart of accounts into different account groups. So this is an example of the later. Say that I'm the controller of the Norwegian entity. This is our data input table visual. The gray column here is coming from the Power BI data model. So we see that we have a company code, the chart of accounts, and a name of the account. And now what we can do with this visual is to extend this data table with more columns, which can be used then in Power BI. So in this example, me as a controller, I'm going to very quick and easy kind of remap some of our accounts in the chart of accounts. And this you can't do in Power BI. You need to go down into your data warehouse trying to remap something. Another example of this, when you use our data input table, is to build small application to maintain master data that you don't maintain anywhere else. So in this example, we have a project register. So I can go in and edit lines and add new projects directly inside of Power BI, projects that can be used directly live in Power BI. So when I press save here, you can see that the Power BI model is updating with the price per project changing, for example. So this is an example of a small application for maintaining projects. So that's a little bit about data management, and I would just like to jump into also administration, because now we have been inside of Power BI the whole time, but we have an underlying SaaS service where data is stored and taking care of audit trail and these kind of things. And that SaaS service is running in the cloud, so to say. So this is the admin UI for managing the setup of Aimplan. So you have the visuals running in Power BI, and then you have this portal to maintain and manage the system. So here you set up, for example, the tables to store data, but also scenario management. If you want to add a new quarterly forecast, you can copy data from one scenario into other scenarios and so on. So this is a very important part of Aimplan connected into Power BI. So that was kind of a walkthrough of planning, budgeting, structured reporting, commenting, and data management. So Then a summary before we jump into the questions. Well, what is Aimplan? Well, it's a set of today 4 custom visuals: the planning and reporting visual, commenting visual, status visual, and data input table visual. They are all available in Microsoft App Store, so you just add them to the existing Power BI reports you have. And it's also a SaaS service with an admin UI. So here data is stored, the planning data is stored, and you have business logic here, and you configure users and scenarios in the admin portal. And for sure, the visuals are communicating with this backend service. And if you want to, by default, the data is stored in our environment, but you can store the data in your Azure environment instead if you would like to have it in your own tenant in Azure. Okay, thank you, everyone. These slides we will send to you via email, and you will also get a recorded webinar, recording from this webinar that you can re-watch if you would like to do so. Thank you very much for joining.